Am I the asshole for speaking up about what I saw my brother doing with his girlfriend? I 19F have always felt like a stranger in my own family, at least when it comes to my brother. Isaac 32M. We're 13 years apart, born in different eras, raised with different rules, and we've never really clicked. He was already in college when I was still learning to ride a bike, and by the time I hit high school he'd moved out, got a job in sales, and only came home for holidays. My parents love him, of course. He's their firstborn, the responsible one. But I've always felt like we're just two people who share a last name. So when he started dating Layla 21F, a girl who's practically my age and goes to the same college as me, I'll admit I was shocked, and a little hopeful. Maybe we'd finally have something in common. Maybe she'd be the bridge between us. I never expected she'd become the reason I'd lose my brother entirely. Layla transferred to my college last semester, and we had a stats class together before I knew she was dating Isaac. She sat next to me on the first day, nervous but friendly, and asked if I could help her navigate the syllabus. We bonded over our mutual hatred of group projects and our love for the campus coffee shop's lavender lattes. She told me she was from a small town a few hours away, that she was studying elementary education, that she missed her mom's homemade cookies. She seemed sweet, genuine, the kind of person who remembers your order and asks how your week was. So when Isaac brought her to dinner a month later and introduced her as his girlfriend, I almost choked on my pasta. "Wait, you're dating Layla?" I said, staring at her. She blushed, and Isaac laughed. Small world, huh? The age gap bothered me from the start. Isaac is 32, old enough to be her dad, practically. And Layla is 21, still figuring out her life, still in college. But Isaac brushed off my concerns when I cautiously brought them up. "Age is just a number," he said. "We're happy. That's all that matters." Layla nodded, but she didn't look at me. She stared at her plate, her fingers twisting the napkin in her lap. I let it go. Who was I to judge? Isaac was my brother, and if he was happy, I should be too. But little things kept nagging at me. The way he'd cut her off when she was talking, saying, "That's cute. But here's the thing." The way he'd check her phone when she wasn't looking, then laugh and say, "Just making sure no one's bothering you." The way she'd shrink into herself when he raised his voice, even a little. I mentioned it to my mom once, and she said, "Isaac's just protective. He's had bad luck with girlfriends before. He doesn't want to lose this one." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But deep down, I knew something was off. Last weekend was my dad's 60th birthday, and Isaac and Layla drove down to stay with us. My parents went all out. Decorations, a cake, a backyard barbecue with family friends. Layla helped my mom cook, laughing as she burned the cookies. She's a terrible baker just like me. And Isaac hung out with my dad and his friends, talking about sports and work. For a while, everything seemed normal. Layla and I even snuck away for 10 minutes to talk about college. "How's stats going?" she asked, grinning. "Still hating it," I said. "Want to study together sometime?" She nodded, but her smile faded. "Isaac doesn't really like me hanging out with people from school alone," she said. "He says it's a waste of time, but maybe I can ask." I frowned. "Why would he say that?" She shrugged. "He's just careful. He says he doesn't want me to get distracted from my studies." I didn't believe it. But again, I let it go. It wasn't my business. That night, around 10:30, Isaac announced they were going out for drinks. My parents were already in bed, my dad had had a long day, and Layla looked exhausted. "Do we have to?" she asked, yawning. "It's so late, and I have a paper due next week." Isaac kissed her forehead. "Come on, it's my dad's birthday weekend. One drink won't hurt. I'll drive." She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, but just one." I was in the kitchen, working on my own schoolwork, an essay for English Lit, when they left. I watched through the window as she got into Isaac's car, her shoulders slouched. I felt a pang of sadness for her. She looked like she didn't want to go. But again, I told myself it wasn't my business. I worked for a few hours, lost in my essay, until I heard the front door open around 1:30 a.m. I looked up, and Isaac and Layla stumbled in. Well, Layla stumbled. Isaac walked straight, his steps steady. She was a mess. Her hair was disheveled, her shirt was unbuttoned at the collar. She could barely stand without leaning on Isaac. She was slurring her words, laughing one second, then sighing the next. "You okay?" I asked, standing up. Isaac tightened his arm around her waist. "She's fine," he said, his voice sharp. "We only had a couple drinks. She's just tired." Layla tried to speak, but whatever she said came out as a mumble. Isaac rushed her toward the basement stairs. They were staying in the guest room down there, and I watched as she tripped on the first step, Isaac catching her before she fell. "Careful," he said, but there was no warmth in his voice. It sounded like a warning. I sat back down, but I couldn't focus. Something about the way he'd spoken to her, the way she'd looked. So out of it, so helpless, made my skin crawl. I tried to go back to my essay, but 10 minutes later, a phone started ringing. It was on the kitchen counter, where Layla had left it when they came in. It rang 3 times, then stopped, then started again. The caller ID said, "Mommy." My heart sank. I knew Layla's mom. She'd called once while Layla was at our house, and she sounded like the kind of mom who'd never call 3 times at 2 a.m., unless it was an emergency. I debated leaving it. Isaac had said to stay out of their business, but when it rang a 4th time, I grabbed it. "I'll just bring it down to her," I told myself. "No big deal." I walked to the basement door, the phone still ringing in my hand. I knocked once, but the ringing was loud, and I figured they'd hear me. I didn't wait for a response. I pulled the door open and started down the stairs. The basement was dark, only a small lamp on by the bed casting a dim glow. As I got halfway down, I heard it. Grunting noises, low and rhythmic, that suddenly stopped. Then rustling, sheets being pulled, clothes being moved. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly what was happening. "I'm so sorry," I yelled, freezing in my tracks. "I just came to bring her phone. Someone's calling." "It's fine," Isaac said, his voice tight. "Come down." I hesitated, but I didn't want to be rude. I kept walking, my hands shaking. When I got to the bottom of the stairs, Isaac was standing by the bed, wearing only a towel around his waist. His hair was messy, his face flushed, and he looked nervous, like he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't. Layla was under the covers, her head turned away from me. From what I could see, her bare shoulders, the way her body was limp, she was naked, and she was out cold. Her eyes were closed, her mouth slightly open, and she didn't move when Isaac spoke. She didn't even flinch when the phone rang again. I handed Isaac the phone, my eyes darting between him and Layla. "Her mom's calling," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He took it, glanced at the screen, and set it on the nightstand. "Thanks," he said. "We'll call her back in the morning." I nodded, turning to leave. But before I could, I smelled it. The sharp, sweet smell of alcohol mixed with Isaac's cologne and something else. Something I couldn't place. It made me sick. Layla had been so drunk she could barely walk, so drunk she couldn't even keep her eyes open, and Isaac had done this, or was doing this. I didn't see everything, but I didn't need to. My gut was screaming that something was very, very wrong. I ran back upstairs, my heart pounding. I locked myself in my room and sat on the bed, trying to catch my breath. I kept replaying the scene in my head. Layla's limp body, Isaac's nervous face, the way he'd rushed her downstairs. Could I have been wrong? Maybe they'd already had sex before going out, and she'd passed out after drinking too much. Maybe it was consensual? But no, she'd been so drunk she could barely stand. She hadn't been able to give consent. Not real consent anyway. And the way Isaac had lied, saying they'd only had a couple drinks when she was clearly hammered, made it worse. He knew what he was doing. He'd taken advantage of her. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, going back and forth between what to do. If I said something, I'd ruin my relationship with Isaac. I'd start a family fight. My dad would be mad. He hates conflict. But if I didn't say something, what would happen to Layla? What if this wasn't the first time? What if Isaac kept doing this and no one ever stopped him? I thought about what it would be like if I were in her position. Drunk, helpless, with someone taking advantage of me. I'd want someone to speak up. I'd want someone to help me. At 7 a.m. I went downstairs. My mom was in the kitchen making coffee. I sat down at the table and she looked at me. "You look terrible," she said. "Did you sleep?" I shook my head. "Mom, I need to talk to you," I said. My voice was shaking. I told her everything. About Isaac and Layla going out. About how drunk Layla was when they came home. About finding her phone. About walking in on them. I told her how Layla had been passed out. How Isaac had lied about how much they'd drunk. I told her I was scared, that I thought he'd taken advantage of her. My mom's face paled. She set down her coffee mug and sat next to me. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice quiet. "Lila, this is serious. We can't accuse Isaac of something like this without proof." "I know I didn't see everything," I said, crying. "But I saw enough." "She was so drunk, Mom. She couldn't even stand. He knew that. And he did something to her anyway." My mom hugged me. "I believe you," she said. "We'll figure this out. But we have to be careful. We don't want to make things worse for Layla." A few minutes later, Isaac came upstairs. He looked like he hadn't slept either. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw tight. I said hi, but I didn't look at him. I stood up and went to my room. But I could hear him and my mom talking in the kitchen. Their voices were low, but I could make out bits and pieces. "She's making this up," Isaac said. "It's not what she thinks. Layla was fine. We had consensual sex. She wanted it." My mom said something I couldn't hear, and Isaac raised his voice. She's just jealous. She's always been jealous of me. Now she's trying to ruin my relationship. A minute later, he banged on my door. "Open up," he said. I hesitated, then unlocked it. He stormed in, his face red with anger.
"What the hell is wrong with you?"
He yelled. "Why are you making up this shit? You have no idea what you're talking about." "I'm not making anything up," I said, standing my ground. "I saw Layla. She was passed out. You were drunk too, but not like her. You knew what you were doing." "She wasn't passed out," he said. "She was tired. We'd been drinking, we had sex, it was consensual. You're just trying to get me in trouble because you're bitter we're close." "Close?" I said, laughing bitterly. "She's scared of you, Isaac. I can see it. The way she shrinks when you talk. The way she doesn't disagree with you. The way she didn't want to go out last night, but you made her. You're not close. You're controlling her." That made him even angrier. He took a step toward me and I flinched. "Shut up," he said, his voice dangerous. "You don't know anything about our relationship. You're a child. You need to stay out of my business before you regret it." He turned around and slammed the door on his way out. I stood there shaking. I was scared, but I was also angry. He was trying to intimidate me, to make me back down. But I wasn't going to. Not this time. A little while later, Layla came upstairs. She was wearing Isaac's sweatshirt, which swallowed her whole, and her hair was still a mess. Her eyes were bloodshot, like she'd been crying. And she looked exhausted. She didn't smile when she saw me. She didn't even look at me. Isaac was right behind her, his hand on her lower back, guiding her. "We're going out to eat," he said, his voice cold. "Don't bother Layla, she's tired." I tried to say something, to ask her if she was okay, to tell her I was there for her, but Isaac gave me a look that made my blood run cold. Layla looked at me for a split second, her eyes wide, like she was begging for help. Then Isaac squeezed her waist, and she looked away. They left, and I stood there feeling helpless. My dad found me in the kitchen a few minutes later. He was drinking coffee, staring out the window. "Your mom told me what you said," he said, his voice quiet. I nodded, waiting for him to yell at me, but he didn't. He turned to me and sighed. "Lila, I get why you're upset," he said, "but you have to understand, Isaac's my son. I don't want to believe he'd do something like this. And we don't know the full story. What if Layla did want it? What if she's just embarrassed now? We could ruin his life over a misunderstanding." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Dad, she was passed out," I said. "You can't give consent if you're passed out." And Isaac lied about how much they drank. He knew what he was doing. "How can you defend him?" "I'm not defending him," he said. "I'm just saying we need to be careful. Accusations like this can destroy a person. What if you're wrong? What if I'm right?" I said, crying. "What if he does this again? What if he hurts someone else? Would you still be saying we need to be careful then?" My dad didn't answer. He just stared at his coffee mug. For the next few hours, my mom and I talked. She told me she'd noticed things too, Isaac's controlling behavior, Layla's fear. But she'd been too scared to say anything. "I didn't want to start a fight," she said. "I didn't want to lose my son. But you're right, Lila. We can't ignore this. Layla's safety is more important." She decided to call Layla later that day, to check on her, to see if she was okay. "I'll be gentle," she said. "I won't pressure her, but I need to know if she's in danger." That afternoon, my mom called Layla. They talked for almost an hour. When my mom hung up, she was crying. "She's been through hell," she said. "Isaac's been controlling her for months. He tells her who she can hang out with, what she can wear, when she can go out. He gets mad if she talks to her friends too much, if she doesn't answer his calls right away. And this isn't the first time he's done this. He got her drunk a few weeks ago, and they had sex, and she felt violated. But she was too scared to say anything. She called her mom last night when they were at the bar. She was scared he'd do it again. That's why her mom was calling so much. She was worried about her." My mom said Layla had been too scared to leave Isaac. He told her no one would believe her, that her friends would think she was crazy, that her mom would be disappointed. But after what happened last night, after I spoke up, she was ready to leave. "She wants to go home," my mom said. "She wants to stay with her mom for a while. But she's scared Isaac will get mad. He told her if she leaves, he'll ruin her reputation, that he'll tell everyone she's a liar." My mom and I decided to drive to Isaac's apartment to pick up Layla. My dad went too. He'd finally come around, realizing Isaac had been lying all along. When we got there, Isaac opened the door. He looked surprised to see us. "What are you doing here?" he said. "We're here to get Layla," my mom said. "She wants to go home." Isaac's face darkened. "She's not going anywhere," he said. "This is my apartment. She can't leave without my permission." "She's an adult, Isaac," my dad said, his voice firm. "She can leave whenever she wants. And she wants to go with us." Layla was sitting on the couch, her suitcase next to her. She stood up when she saw us, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm ready," she said. Isaac stepped in front of her. "You can't do this," he said to her. "You love me. We're happy. This is just a mistake. Lila lied to you. She's jealous." "No, she didn't," Layla said, her voice shaking. "I know what you did. I remember. I was drunk, but I remember. You didn't listen when I said I was tired. You didn't listen when I said I didn't want to. You did it anyway." Isaac stared at her, shocked. "You're lying," he said. "You wanted it. You always want it." "No," she said, crying. "I never wanted this. I was scared of you. I'm still scared of you." My mom put her arm around Layla and led her to the car. Isaac tried to stop them, but my dad blocked him. "Let her go, Isaac," my dad said. "This is over!" Isaac yelled. He screamed. He threatened us, said he'd never forgive us, said we'd ruined his life. But we didn't listen. We got Layla in the car and drove away. We dropped Layla off at her mom's house. Her mom hugged her, crying, and thanked us for helping her. Layla hugged me before we left. "Thank you," she whispered. "I never would have had the courage to leave if you hadn't spoken up. You saved me." I hugged her back. "I'm sorry I didn't do it sooner," I said. She shook her head. "You did it when it mattered." On the drive home, my dad was quiet. "I should have believed you sooner," he said. "I should have seen what Isaac was doing. I'm sorry." "It's okay," I said. "You believe me now." My mom held my hand. "We're proud of you," she said. "You did the right thing, even when it was hard, even when it meant losing your brother. Losing Isaac hurt. He was my brother, after all. But I didn't lose anything important. He'd shown his true colors. Controlling, manipulative, cruel. He didn't deserve to be in my life, and he didn't deserve to be with Layla." A few days later, my parents told Isaac we wouldn't be contacting him anymore. They said if he wanted to talk, he'd have to apologize to Layla, to take responsibility for his actions, and to get help. He hasn't called. He hasn't texted. I don't expect he will. Layla and I have stayed in touch. She transferred to a college closer to her mom's house, and she's doing better. She's making new friends. She's focusing on her studies. She's seeing a therapist to work through what happened. She says she's healing, and I believe her. We study together sometimes, over video chat, and we talk about everything. School, boys, our moms. She's not just Isaac's ex-girlfriend anymore. She's my friend. So am I the asshole for speaking up? For telling my mom what I saw? For being uncomfortable about what happened? I don't think so. Sometimes doing the right thing means making hard choices. It means standing up for someone even when it's scary. Even when it means losing someone you love. Layla needed someone to speak up for her. I was that someone. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. If you see something that doesn't feel right, if you see someone being hurt, being controlled, being taken advantage of, say something. Even if it's hard, even if it means starting a fight, even if it means losing someone. You might just save a life. You might just save someone from a lot of pain. And that's never ever the wrong thing to do. I still think about Isaac sometimes. I wonder if he'll ever change, if he'll ever realize what he did was wrong. But I don't hold out hope. Some people are just cruel, and that's not my problem. My problem is being there for Layla, being there for my family, and being proud of the person I am. Someone who stands up for what's right, even when it's hard. And that's more than enough.